Before we start, I will remind the committee and members of the public that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Township YouTube channel. This meeting is being held electronically due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Precautions and measures are in place regarding social distancing to ensure the health and safety of those attending this meeting. Anyone who registered to participate in this meeting will be invited to speak in the order of the applications being heard. I will now do a roll call of the committee for the benefit of the public watching this meeting. When I call your name, please wave at your camera and say here or present. I, Hans Podtemper, am present and chairing this meeting. Jim? I am present. Jim?
Tim Cronin, I'm here.
Linda?
Present.
Charles?
Here.
Present. Nancy?
Present.
I will now provide an explanation of the procedure for this meeting. Each application will be read by Nancy, and she will ask each applicant to make a brief presentation not to exceed 10 minutes. The committee will be given an opportunity to question the applicants. Any other person who has registered with the recording secretary and is wishing to address an applicant's application, either for or against, will be given the opportunity to speak. Please make sure you have turned on your microphone and video and identify yourself to the recording secretary. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, the committee will make a decision on the application. Once discussion on your application is completed, please mute your microphone and turn off the video. You are free to leave the meeting at that time or remain and listen to the balance of the applications. The applicants are advised that each application has a 20-day appeal period as required by the Planning Act. The last day of appeal for the application heard today is March 17, 2021. At this time, I will ask if any members of the committee, if they are declaring a pecuniary conflict of interest on any of the applications. Are you?
No.
In that case, I will ask Nancy to read the application's description. Nancy?
Thanks, Hans. So the first application that was circulated this evening was for minor variance application A4 2021 for Jeremiah and Alice Brubaker. And just for the purpose of the minutes, I want to just advise that that application was withdrawn last week. So we won't be discussing that this evening. The next applications are consent applications B1/2021 to B8/2021 for the Sawmill Corporation and Stavanis Enterprises, Inc. The applicant has submitted the following consent applications for the purpose of creating 6 vacant residential lots and 1 vacant commercial lot, together with a drainage easement. The applications impact 3 properties. The land recently approved plan amendment and corresponding zone change to facilitate these applications. The first set of applications are vacant lands on Snyder's Flats Road, Bloomingdale, settlement residential R1 with site-specific provisions, and settlement commercial C3 with site-specific provisions. The lands are currently vacant. Application B1 is to sever a vacant parcel of land. Sorry, I'm just going to go condense that a little bit for this evening's purposes. Applications B1 through B5 are to sever a vacant parcel of land, each measuring approximately 34.5 meters by 200 meters and being approximately 0.68 hectares in area, as a new residential lot totaling 5 residential lots. Application B6 is to sever a vacant parcel of land measuring approximately 40.6 meters by 200 meters and being approximately 0.75 hectares in area, creating the 6th new residential lot. The retained lands being the proposed commercial lot measure approximately 62 meters by 200 meters and are approximately 1.22 hectares in area. The next property is 1082 Snyder's Flats Road, Bloomingdale, zoned agricultural and settlement commercial with site-specific provisions containing a dwelling and accessory buildings. Application B7 is to sever a 0.6 hectare commercial zone portion of land from the adjacent lands at 1082 Snyder's Flats Road and convey it as a lot addition to the rear of the retained commercial lands. And application B8 is for 835 Sawmill Road, Bloomingdale, zone settlement commercial with site-specific provisions and containing construction operation. This application is to create a drainage easement over the existing lands at 835 Sawmill Road in favor of the proposed retained commercial lands to provide an outlet/overland flow road to Sawmill Road. Megan, if you'd like to turn on your video and audio and make your presentation.
Great, thanks, Nancy. Good afternoon, everyone. Members of the committee, staff, and members of the public. My name is Megan Garrity. I am a senior planner with GSP Group. I am here today to speak to you on all of these 8 consent applications. I'm happy to know that they're being dealt with all at once instead of individually. And so Nancy provided a very good summary of what it is that we're trying to achieve. I just wanted to add, I suppose, a few things for additional background. So B1 through B6 are to create 6 residential lots, as Nancy had mentioned. And the remnant piece would be the commercial industrial lot. Each of these pieces has frontage along Snyder's Flats Road, and each will be serviced with individual well and septic systems. As we described in our submission, an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment were recently approved to allow for these developments. So that includes the appropriate residential designation and zoning, as well as the commercial industrial designation and zoning for the respective pieces. So that basically will create these 6 residential lots. And then in favor of the remnant piece, which is the commercial industrial lot, we're proposing to do the lot addition, which is 0.06 hectares at the southerly end of the commercial industrial lot, and that's from the neighboring agricultural property. The sliver has already been zoned to match the C3 zoning that we've got for the commercial industrial site. And once it's added, the total lot area would be 1.2 hectares in size. As Nancy mentioned, the last application, I believe it's B8, we are requesting a proposed easement over the neighboring Vendel construction operation site, which will provide a drainage outlet for overland flow in the event of a 100-year storm. I believe we have some others on our team, Dave Kittle and Steve Ross here as well, if you have any comments or questions for us to answer.
Any questions of the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, I actually have a question. So it's in relation to the lot line adjustment, and I don't have any concerns with the lot line adjustment, but I'm just trying to understand the purpose. Is that to give access then for the retained lands to both Snyder's Flats and Regional Road 17? Is that the purpose of that?
So it won't actually provide access through the Vendel site, but it does square up the 2 sites more evenly. And I believe that was ultimately the intent, is they currently have that kind of lane all the way up. And so that would just kind of square things off better for the 2 pieces.
Okay, thank you, Megan.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Chair?
Yep.
Through you to Megan, with the B8 application, we're looking at an overland route for water to get to Sawmill Road. I guess, and you mentioned in your comment there about the 100-year storm. My concern, or what I'd like to address, is the is the land seems to flow away from that access. So is there plans in place, or can we put something in place to ensure that we don't end up with runoff going onto the neighboring lots, especially the downhill lot, to prevent the erosion or flooding from the extra water from the other lot?
I don't necessarily want to speak out of turn, but I believe that we will be required to provide engineering drawings as part of a site plan application. And I would imagine that those detailed design components would address the flow of that water more directly to ensure the direction that it's going is appropriate based on the easement that we're getting now.
Another comment, Mr. Chair, through you to Reno. So if, is there suggesting maybe we put a clause in there as part of the requirement? You have one clause in there for registering it. Could we put a clause in there, some sort, to suggest that this will be done? I recognize that the everything else is conferred to the 6 lots, but this seems to be like a standalone consent that isn't dependent on the other consents either passing or finishing off. This consent would stand on its own as being allowed without the other development ever following through. So is there some way I could provide some wording to suggest that, I don't know, I came up with something light here, suggesting something that the subdivider will ensure that drainage water will not flow to the adjacent properties at 841 and 833 Sawmill Road. Something like that work? Question to you, Reno.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that condition can be put in if the committee wishes to do so. As Megan did indicate, though, there will be a overall development agreement for this entire property, and each individual and the commercial lot will go through a site plan. So there will be mechanisms in place to control that. But again, if the committee wishes to put that condition, it could be put in there. But at the same time, there are other mechanisms that will be occurring after the creation of this easement to prevent that from occurring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any more comments from the other committee about this, or?
So, Mr. Chairman, to you both, to Tim and to Reno. So as I understand it and looking at it, there's no specific location laid out as of yet for this easement. It's you're looking at a blanket easement across the whole property so that you can address it and deal with the proper location of how it's supposed to drain out, correct? Because I have to agree with Tim. It was one of my questions as to how do we actually route the water to Regional Road 17, but if it's the whole property and you're doing site plan on it as well on that property, then from my perspective, I think that will cover it off and give the staff and township an opportunity to fully review the easement and figure out the drainage and make sure that everything's in place. That's my view on it.
Reno, do you wish to comment on that?
That is what we're looking at. Basically, we don't have the exact location yet. Once the subdivision agreement, the standard development agreement we put forth and engineering drawings will be put forth, we will determine where the best spot for that 100-year drainage will be. So at this point in time, we don't know exactly where it will be. So once we go through the agreement and site plan, that will be determined, and there are mechanisms as indicated that we will make sure that it's in the proper spot and that it will not affect downward on the road. That's where we stand with that. I believe Stephen had a comment.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I believe 2D and E cover it off because it talks about the design, construction requirements and consulting engineers' obligations for the internal works, which is D, and then E is the external works. And included in that is grading and drainage. So I would suggest at lots covered off. I'm not saying that we would object to further wording, but I would say that you are more than covered with that and the instruments that are to be registered on title.
Do you, Mr. Chair? Tim? Okay. And I get all that, and I even got it for all the minor variances to create the lots and the commercial lots and the residential lots. But I guess where I was getting hung up on this particular one is it doesn't, this consent does not refer back to any of the other consents. And if for some reason, and I can't see it happening now with all the work that's being done, if it not going through, this consent would stand on its own to allow drainage without, there's no requirement in this consent to do any of the other study, because this is a standalone consent. It's not tied into any of the others, and there's no other condition. So even if the other conditions stopped and didn't occur, this consent would allow water to be drained over this without any other studies. So I just wanted to tie it in to ensure that those studies impacted on this particular consent, and that's where my hang up is. And not that I don't believe it'll all be done, but there's just no tie on this particular one.
And through you, Mr. Chair, similarly, again, we don't object to further wording, but both of the consents contain the same language to D and E. But I appreciate what you're trying to make a further linkage, and that's fair enough. So
that was my only request, to link this consent to the other consents, that they all tied together, because the other one's got 14 sets on, one's got 8 or something with a bunch of subsets, but there's nothing in this one to tie it into the other ones to ensure that that all that engineering was done with this consent. So that's my wording as to how to tie them together so that all that engineering has to be done to make this consent work.
Reno, seems to me that issue then becomes a further wording in the agreements.
Again, yeah, if the committee wishes, we could put an additional condition in consent application B82021 indicating that that the subdivider to provide, or that's once the drainage easement has been established through the development agreement, that the subdividers to provide proper engineering drawings and not to affect downward stream on Snyder's Road there. Something that we could put something to that effect. Maggie, you had a comment, or?
I'm just wondering if it might be easier in terms of clearing the conditions if we could, as the committee member had mentioned, just linking one to the other. So essentially making it a condition of this approval for the easement that I think it's B7 be completed and the conditions be completed. That way B8 engineering requirements are then in effect linked to B8.
Sure, I'm in agreement with that. As long as the committee's in agreement with that, that's what we can do that. And put a condition in there saying that application B8 2021 is to refer to conditions in B7 2021 to be satisfied prior to B8 being finalized.
Works for me, thank you. Okay, can Nancy get that wording in there that it's acceptable? Does Nancy have that lined up?
Yeah, so based on Reno's comment there, I'll add condition number 2 in. He's noted here that application B8 2021 is to refer to conditions in B7 2021 to be satisfied prior to B8 2021 being finalized. Does that sound, the read okay?
Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable to me. It's just the rest of the committee, etc.
I think that works.
Yep, that's fine.
Megan, you're good?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if Steve is looking like he wants to say something. or
No,
not.
no, I'm, it's acceptable to me, and I stand by my previous comments that I actually think, even just in reviewing further, that I actually think it already is tied, but we're totally fine with this further step. It's not a, we're not concerned about it. We want to work with the township as much as possible, so.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this application or these applications?
So, Stavanis, if you'd like to turn your video and audio on, if you had any comments.
Okay, thank you. I'm Dale Stavanis, and I'm the president for Stavanis Developments, and we own 1082 Snyder Flats Road. So, Chair and Committee of Adjustments, I'd like to ask my wife, who's here with me, to just read off a couple of things we want for points, just points of clarification. We don't have any particular problem with what we've seen here, but if she could read that off for you. I do have a little bit of an eye challenge, so it's best that she reads this.
Hi. So through the chair, our first clarification is condition number 8. We want to clarify where it starts and convey to the township the existing easement over property at 1082 Snyder's Flats Road for maintenance of the storm system and access thereto at its expense. Our question is, who are you referring to when you say at its expense? And I guess, do you want me to continue with all 3 or do you want to address each one? Through the chair.
I'm not sure who should be answering that question, the applicant or staff?
So can you clarify the question? Your question is condition number 8, Bill? With regards to the 10-meter easement in favor of the township of Woolwich along the westerly line of lot 6 within consent plan and convey to the township the existing easement over the property of 1082 Snyder's Flats Road for maintenance of the storm system access thereto at its expense. Is that your
Yes.
Your question is whose expense?
Yes. Who are you referring to when you say at its expense?
The expense is the applicant's expense.
So the applicant being the developer?
For these lots to be created, that condition has to be satisfied, and the applicant themselves would have to satisfy that condition. They would have to convey that lot, that easement would have to be created through a reference plan, and then the existing one would have to be conveyed over to the township, and there's costs involved in that, and those costs would be bared by the applicant.
And then the maintenance of that continuing for the future,
Correct.
the expense of that, it is who?
The 10-meter easement one would be maintained by the person who would retain that lot. It would be on lot 6. The one that you conveyed over to the municipality would maintain that one.
Okay. Our second clarification is regarding paving. We'd like to reference on pages 3 and 4, number 2E. It says the upgrading of Snyder's Flats Road to a full urban cross section, etc. But we noted that on page 6 under comments, it states that Snyder's Flats Road will be urbanized from Sawmill Road to the edge of the development. And at previous township meetings, both us as from 1082 Snyder's Flats Road, and also the residents Carl and Helen Zenger at 1084 Snyder's Flats Road have asked that the pavement at Snyder's Flats Road be continued to the westerly edge of our driveway. And the reason for that is we've put in calls, both Zangers and ourselves, to the township regarding the issues of potholes, washboards, frequency of grading, etc. And we've been told the issue is the high level of traffic going down to GRCA Snyder's Flats Conservation Area. We've put up with that conditions ourselves for 21 years. Before that, our parents that lived here, and we'd like for our request to be added as a condition. So that ends the second point.
So you're requesting to be added as the, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused as to what condition you want to be added to.
Well, we just want it captured that we've requested it several times, but it doesn't seem to get captured that we are requesting that the pavement, right now it's saying that it stops at the development, which
Right.
is 100,
Maybe
about
50 to 100 feet.
50 to 100 feet short of our driveway. So we're asking that it be captured, our request be captured, that it continues, the pavement continues to our well, just past our driveway. So
Okay.
that we don't travel to the end of the development, and then we have that 50, 100 feet that we then have
Washboard. And
washboard potholes to deal with for that short 50 to 100 feet. Plus cosmetically, I think it would just look nicer to finish, because we are a residential area, to add that.
So you're asking urbanized road to pass up to your property. The reason I would say we're not, I don't agree with putting that in the condition right now is for the fact that the request is to create these 6 lots. And beyond the 6 lots is not part of the application itself. So these conditions have to pertain to the actual redevelopment or development of the 6 lots in question. And how they reflect and how they would impact the actual area. So that would be, I believe, a discussion that would have to occur potentially maybe with the development agreement that comes place afterward. But right now, that condition, I cannot put that condition in there for the fact that it does not relate to the actual 6 lots in question. It goes beyond the actual application limits.
And I'm sorry, who is speaking right now?
Sorry, my name is Reno Dalbello. I'm with the township.
Okay.
The
So
author-
will we be notified? You called that developing?
developer.
would you be notified for?
You referred to it, the next step as being developing.
Yeah, if you look through the conditions, most of the condition number 2 on the application says the subdivider will enter into a standard development agreement to satisfy the conditions of the township.
Mhm.
There is potential then at that point that the subdivider could ask for additional extension of that under the cost of not necessarily the township, but the cost of those could be looked at from the developer's perspective or not necessarily the township's perspective. But at this point right now, where we are to create these 6 lots, I cannot add that condition to extend beyond the application limit.
Okay.
Even has a comment.
For you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I actually agree with Reno's approach. I believe this could be something that's handled through the development agreement. It would be improper to put it in here because it would just, for the reasons that Reno explained. I would suggest that basically what's being asked for is more works to be completed, and that there be some sort of cost sharing agreement for the portion that extends beyond the development application. So we can certainly take that back, and I agree it could be part of a discussion when we get to that point, the development agreement stage. And I'm Steve Ross, solicitor for Sawmill.
You?
Then the third clarification, probably it doesn't pertain to this either, but maybe if you could direct me as to where to address this. So again, in this package, it talks about future development at Snyder's Flats Road. And I refer to page 4, 2A-E again, where it says that there is upgrading plans for Snyder's Flats Road. And you refer to 1089, which is farmland, and it runs from the community center right down to Bloomingdale Mennonite Church. And so we're just concerned about the development of Snyder's Flats Road reference there. I'm assuming what you're going to tell me is you're just referring to the development. Our concern is about the width of the road and its impact on our property. The road heading westerly again towards the church, past our driveway. And so I'm assuming this is not the right time to bring up that subject, but who would we contact at the township to address that at another time?
You could actually contact me at another time, Reno Dalbello, the planner, senior planner for the development for the township. I'm in touch with our development engineering department with regards to that. But again, with regards to urbanizing the road, it will only go up to those lots and not past that. And you mentioned a road widening. There would be no road widening past these created lots when they are at this point in time.
Well, it's not a road widening as to what you're assuming, but over time, from gravel being put down on the road, it has naturally become wider and is running on farm property, our farm property. But we can discuss that at a later date.
Yeah, we could discuss that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any further issues?
No.
That particularly pertain to these properties?
No.
Anyone have any comments on these or any questions?
Mr. and Mrs. Zenger, if you'd like to turn your audio and your video on, if you had any questions.
No. Okay, Carol, there you go.
Good evening, everyone. I just have I would like to have a clarification on something. It's our understanding that the final part of the drainage system will be released from the underground drainage pipes to an area in the field from where the water will run downhill to a riprap area before finding its way to the Grand River. Is this correct?
Or, if I may, where are you reading that specific comment or addition?
Where am I reading that specific comment?
Or question, yes, or addition, yes. Is that your own?
Yes, it is.
So there will be a easement that will be used across the lots that will be connecting to an existing easement on 1082 Snyder Spots Road. That easement there is a drainage easement. It will go down to the Grand River, where the water will eventually flow into the Grand River for overland flow for storm.
So it's going to flow overland through that
Correct.
field, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Do you have any further questions?
No, that is all, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments by the committee? Questions of the applicant? How would the committee like to handle these 3 applications? We need to deal with these on the basis of the 6 residential lots, the commercial lots, and then the easement. So let's start off with the residential lots.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion that consent applications B1 through to B6 for 2021 Sawmill Development Corporation concerning the 5.6 hectare property located on the south side of Schneider Flats Road in Bloomingdale. To sever the property to create 6 new residential lots where 5 lots are 0.6 hectares in size and 1 is 0.75 hectares in size. Be approved subject to the, hang on here, 14 conditions as set out in the planning report recommendations.
Seconder? Carl? Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Second motion regarding the commercial lots. What?
Tim,
Turn
turn
your muted.
your microphone.
Is that better?
Yep.
Much
Okay,
better.
Mr. Chair, I can move that one if you like. That consent application B7 2021 Sawmill Development Corporation concerning the 5.6 hectare property on the south side of Snyder's Flat Road, Bloomingdale, described in James Wilson Tract, parcel lots 6 and 7, part B, and all the rest of the parts listed there. Requesting Seven's property to create a 0.06 hectare commercial zone portion from 1082 Snyder's Flat Road to convey it as a lot addition to the rear of the retained commercial lands as shown on the consent plan attached as Appendix A. Be approved subject to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and all the subsections under Section 2 be approved.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Do we have a motion regarding the easement?
Okay, I'd like to do that one too, Mr. Chair. That consent application B8 2021 for the Sawmill Development Corporation concerning 835 Sawmill Road, Bloomingdale. Described those tracks to grant an easement over the existing lands at 835 Sawmill Road in favor of the proposed retained commercial lands to provide an outlet overflow route to Sawmill Road as shown on consent plan attached to Appendix A. Be approved subject to conditions 1 and the approved to condition 2 that we've added.
Seconder?
I'll second it again.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you, everyone. I will email and mail out the accordingly. You can now turn off your microphones and your videos. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any further business for the committee?
You'd like to move the minutes, Mr. Chair?
Thank you for reminding me. Yes.
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as distributed.
I will second that.
Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All in favor? Carried. Now I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. I was a little premature, sorry.
So
Linda,
move, Mr. Chairman. I'll move adjournment.
second? Okay, all in favor? Good night, folks.
Aye.
Thank you.